Welcome back to the Michigan Business Beat, brought to you on the Michigan Business Network. I'm Chris Holman, and we are broadcasting from the Hill. That's right. We're at the Grand Hotel, and we're here for the Detroit Regional Chamber's annual policy conference. And here is the woman who puts this all on, Tammy Carnrike, COO. Phenomenal event. I mean, it always is, let's face it. But this was a very unique year. This is two in less than a year that had to present some challenges.
Yeah, it's challenging. First, let me say thank you, Chris. It's always a pleasure to be here with you and your team. And I have a great team, so that's why all of this goes really well. But yeah, this was a challenging year. One in September, we had to because of COVID. And then to do a second one, and it's two in our fiscal year besides, you know. So it was challenging, and our conference chair this year, Arn Tellen, had a lot of great visions. You know, he's a guy that sees something and goes after it. But so far, so good. We've managed it. Teams from the Pistons to the Team Chamber to Team Grand Hotel to all of our media friends. It's going great.
You know, it's kind of interesting because we've had different mixes here. I mean, there was the one year when the legislators didn't come because of their schedules. This year has thrown in some sports personalities, which has really brought kind of a new dynamic.
Yeah, sports personalities and sports teams owners, which is a really interesting add-on. And that was, again, part of Arn's vision is we need people to understand that sports is a business. And that sports, like every other business, has also had to change post-COVID and do things that are more socially focused, community focused. You know, how do you help people from an equity perspective? And so he wanted to bring that in and shed some light on the importance of the sports and somehow, you know, how the individual players give. Let's face it, they give a lot to these communities and these kids. And then the sports team owners talking about how things have changed for them and their organizations, which then we spilled over into our own corporate and business community, how it's, you know, affected them. They've had to refocus. You know, it used to be you'd be focused on internally strategy, and you know, this year, the last 2 years, it's been community, social change, employees, wellness.
Well, you know, it's pretty incredible because when you look at successful cities, you know you're a successful city if you have a sports franchise, right?
Right.
So they are a big part of the economy. At the end of this, you will always come out with basically what I refer to as a program of work. They're the priorities and the things that you go to work on, which also brings to mind the fact that the day you close this, you don't go somewhere and relax.
I get to go home for a weekend and relax.
Two whole days.
2 whole days now. You're right, though. We begin immediately planning for the next one. Take us about a month to shut everything down, you know, pay all the bills and see where we came out for the board and report into the board. But yeah, then we'll begin immediately planning for next year. And who knows what that'll bring. You know, we spent now 2 years focusing on the impact of COVID in many different ways and looking forward now to our future. And I think the one important discussion today that's going to take place over the lunch hour and on the stage is, how do we make Michigan more competitive? Because somehow we're sliding, right? Especially when it comes to electric vehicle plants, and we can't keep doing this. So I think coming out of this one, looking towards next year, we'll be spending a lot of time in those areas. This state, you know, we need to be a complete advantage state in this nation.
No, you're absolutely right. And of course, losing the battery facility, that was a real wake-up call. So we've got some work to do. You're right.
We do.
So tell me a little bit about what makes this particular one unique. And I guess I'm going this 2 times in a fiscal year. That's got to be hard on some budgets. And did that affect you much?
Yeah, it sure did. Especially affected last year's budget because we had it budgeted for May, and that was our fiscal year end June 30th.
Oh.
So then we had the September, and then we had this one, and it is impacting our budget some because we're holding it to 1,300. Yeah. You'll remember, Chris, we were over 1,800 many times.
Yep.
But we've heard from our customers, that's what we like. They like that it's not so crowded. They like that they can get to people. So, you know, it does impact the budget a little, not to mention, like every other business out there, supply chain issues and talent are critical. to the costs for any type of event like this. But I think we're going to be going through that too for a couple of years.
Well, I mean, those are pretty divergent figures when you run the number of people attending down. So your revenue goes down and the expense of absolutely everything.
Everything goes up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Talk about the transition of ownership here and working with the hotel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know, we worked with the Musser family, or let's just say I've worked with the Musser family for 15 years.
Yeah.
And then the Davison Group came in, and, you know, I always had this list of what keeps Tammy up at night about Mackinac, and that was one of them. You know, I have to say, September I didn't get much time because I spent 2 days here and flew home ill.
Well, and it's the unknown, too.
It's the unknown. So this week I've had a full time, I had a site visit. They have been spectacular. The Davison Group is investing a lot in the property. All you have to do is look at that pool and that pool house. But they've got more plans to invest. They are so customer service oriented. You know, they got innovative to try and find talent. The visa issue is still here.
Yep.
So they went and found talent. What do you need? What do we need? How are we going to make this better? The president, David Jersick, if you haven't met him, you need to. This is a first-class guy who knows how to run hospitality.
We're going to be talking with David later.
Good.
Yeah.
He's first class. So I'm very happy working with the new management.
Well, I'll tell you what, you always do a spectacular job, and hand that on to your team, too. I know that's important.
I will be happy to.
Good leaders attract good teams, too. Keep that in mind.
Thank you, sir.
Tammy Carnrike, COO of the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce and mother of this entire thing that's taking place here. I'm Chris Holman. You're watching the Michigan Business Beat on the Michigan Business Network. We'll be right back from the Policy Conference on Mackinac Island.